Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. Does anybody else sing along with that opening tune? I do now. Can't help it. It's just, hi, everyone. I'm Steve. That's John. That's Nessie. Today, we are taking you on a guided nostalgia trip through some Star Trek greatness. So it's going to be as relaxed as I can be. My back is bothering me really bad. So it is what it is, but hi, everyone. Missed you guys last week. It was, Easter. A lot of us had other plans, but we're glad to be back. How is everyone doing? Nessie, it's been a good minute. How you doing?
Doing good.
Before we do anything, I'm popping this up to wag my finger at Kate.
Oh, hey, this is arguably the best Star Trek movie. Like, wow, the
heart breaks.
It does. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice. Star Trek is hit or miss for me, and I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan to begin with. But this movie is great. I'm getting ahead of myself. John, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't have any Star Trek shirts, so I went with the next ship captain that I have, which I really had to twist my own arm to put this shirt on. But,
right.
I
don't have a Star Trek shirt either, but I went with a tried and true Sanrixian design. Boop, boop, boop. It matches my coffee cup. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Nessie, you're looking lovely.
Oh, thank you. No,
in gray with the plunging neck. Mm-hmm. I see.
Just just basic stuff.
Well, you don't come here for the t-shirt talk. You come here for nerds getting wildly passionate about something they love. So, shall we just jump into it?
Yeah, I have to say, as kind of a starting point, I love the Star Trek movies growing up. As a matter of fact, these original movies were the first thing Star Trek that I saw. I saw these before I ever saw the original series or Next Generation or anything. And my biggest memory, and I'm going to do some show and tell right off the top here, is it's a memory with my mom. Because I remember going to the mall with her, and it was here in Florida, I think. So it was after we moved here. And I just remember that I had been taping the movies on TV because I'd been seeing them piecemeal. I think I saw them in reverse order too. I think the first one I saw was 6, and I worked my way backward. Which is why you don't have an excuse, Kate. But I remember I had been wanting to pick up the actual cassettes in the store. And that was back when there was this store in the mall called Suncoast Video. And they had everything. And this was before Amazon.com or anything like that. So if you found a store that had a huge selection of movies, it was the Holy Grail. But anyway, and the one I'd really been wanting to pick up was Star Trek 4, and this is not my original copy, but when I finish telling you the story, you'll understand why. I ended up getting rid of the VHS tapes, and then after my mom passed away, I was like, no, I have some memories attached with these, so I went and found a used copy.
Nice.
Anyway, but what happened was just as we were planning in the next couple days to go to the store and pick this up, I had gotten grounded for, I can't even remember what it was about, but my dad got angry about me about something I did. And so, but my punishment was no TV. I couldn't watch any TV. So my mom and I did not think that he would approve of us going to the mall to pick up a movie. And so we did it in secret. We lied.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So,
Oh no, is your dad listening right now?
oh no.
but
Secrets
we
out, John.
we had to explain where the tape was coming from. So after we had picked it up, we went to his work to say hi, because I was still allowed to go out, just nothing movie or TV related. So we saw him, and we fabricated this whole thing about how we have to go to the mall tomorrow and to pick this up. And he looks at us and he's like, "Why didn't you just pick it up today?" And then we both sheepishly were like, "We did." And
Not even good, John. You're
so
not
he
even.
does know.
yeah, he does now. And also the funny thing was, we were heading out of town. I don't remember the exact sequence of events for this, because it's very confusing how we would have run out. It would have had to be like super early in the morning. But I know that we were leaving either the next day or the day after, to like go on a road trip or something. I just remember that as soon as I was allowed to watch TV, I popped that tape in the VCR and I watched about like the first 15-20 minutes of it before we had to leave the house.
Crazy.
But I was so excited. So that VHS tape in
Okay.
particular, I have a lot of memories associated.
I'm glad we have those memories. Let's talk about what's on that tape, shall we?
Okay.
An actual movie. So I kind of mean this as Star Trek Save the Whales. And I kind of like, even in the description of this very video, John, you mentioned it, where I'm like, this is kind of a heavy-handed wildlife preservation movie that manages, through really brilliant writing and direction and, decades built understanding these characters, and they made it a great sci-fi movie that is, by the way, entirely set in 1984. I mean, entirely. 80% of the film is in 1984, which makes it a lot easier to shoot, and it's a funny fish out of water film. Yeah, but like, to watch them just be so in over their heads, wandering around San Francisco in 1984, I think. Might be 1986. I'm not sure.
What's so brilliant about it, and this is why I actually really like time travel movies like this that go back to like modern day past, because and partially it is, but it should be extraordinarily dated. But because it's time traveling back to that period, like, in some ways it's not dated, because that's time travel. They're going back to a period of time that's in the past. So even now it's like, oh yeah, that's 1984.
Right.
But yeah, no.
Okay, so I'm not sure how we're going to go about talking about this movie. To me, I always start off with like highlights. I always like to just go with like, when I think about this movie, what's the thing that I remember?
Well, wait a second, Nessie. What are your broad feelings about this movie?
Yeah, good point.
It was a fun nostalgic trip for me. I remember seeing it back when it came out. Probably saw it on video as well. Of course, I came from a family that this was the stuff that we liked. So when it was available to for us to go rent it or what have you, we put it in the lineup and watched it as a family. This was kind of our thing. My mom was a big, probably my dad too, but more so my mom really liked sci-fi. So.
Yeah, my mom is the big sci-fi head between my parents as well. And she's an old school, like, original run Star Trek fan from back in the 60s.
Mom liked that, Lost in Space, all those things. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about all that, but like, I do remember watching this movie at the mall. I don't remember if Mom was there. I know my brothers were. She may have dropped me and my brothers off as a like. Thank God they've. I've got 2 hours without kids, you know. But I remember watching this and I really liked it. And it can be really hit or miss to go back to that stuff from the 80s. But this one just works because the future that Star Trek is imagining is a very sort of wholesome, inclusive culture. So any of the 1984 they're interacting with is just the real world at that time. So, like, as you were talking, John, about it feeling dated, it doesn't. It feels like a. Oh, am I feeding back?
I was having a little bit as well.
I think that was me. I'm sorry. I fixed it. But I lost my train of thought. Yep. That's
it holds up. 1986 Star Trek.
Right. So, like, if it has to hold up because it is reflective of what was, and like you were saying, John, does it hold up? It plays like a period piece. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, there are like the 80s portions, which takes up most of the movie, do feel very 80s. You know, 80s cinema.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like. Mm-hmm. That's part of the joy of it. It does immerse you in that whole feeling. And yeah, I mean, and truth be told, I'll never be able to be objective about this just because it's a movie that I grew up with. And and it's you know,
of the three of us, it is your opinion that I trust the least. I'm just saying it now. Okay.
That's in general, right?
John cannot remove his nostalgia goggles.
He really can't.
Actually,
well, why should I? Why should I?
Because a critical eye from a future perspective is still worth having.
Yeah, well, even the technical effects.
Okay, I'm not going to make you either.
The technical effects weren't that off-putting for me either.
Oh no, it works great. Like the effects are beautiful still.
They really didn't go into a whole lot of like fancy things.
No, but they did give us like, I'm just gonna let y'all bask in the beauty of that shot.
The warbird, yeah.
The warbird flying under the Golden Gate Bridge in the fog. Oh,
yeah, it was a good shot.
And a lot of it is, it's like you said, because so much of the movie was easier for them to do because of the present day setting. So there actually weren't that many visual effects shots, So they were kind of able to put in the work where it was needed, and and they weren't trying for anything like super grand because that was the whole thing with when they did the motion picture, and then after that they significantly decreased the budget and just did like the very necessary visual effect shots. And
this is probably a composited shot of the Golden Gate Bridge and a real shot of a miniature, which is still a tricky shot to pull off and make it look good.
Yeah,
because you are compositing two different things, but yeah,
and I think they had some animatronics too for like when they had some of the whale interactions. With the flippers and the tail and everything. I think that was animatronic. But then you get like the far off shots that they had of the whales doing whale things, and you could see that was like actual footage. But yeah, and I had forgotten this until the movie was started rolling, that they dedicated this to the space shuttle, to the Challenger, and I'm like, oh yeah, 1986. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the summer of 1986, when this came out, I would have been 11.
Yep, and I was 2.
And I was driving. I love that.
But no, it's funny. And we even had somebody comment in the Slack, and I think it was the same thing with you, Nessie. And people always say, "Is this the one with the whales?" And which is so funny because I always actually the way I always classify this is this is the funny one. Because there's so much wonderful humor amongst the cast, and they really just all get to goof around with each other.
But it's not. It doesn't come off as a comedy.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right, funny. But not every movie that is really funny is necessarily a comedy, because it just comes from the character interactions and their personalities. And especially since Spock is figuring out how to be himself again.
He's running around San Francisco dressed in a bathrobe with a sweatband around his head.
Too much LDS.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a reason why we went straight for this movie and didn't do the other 3 that come before it.
Well, actually, you
did, John.
Yeah, I did, because when you guys were out, I did a retro review of Wrath of Khan with some guests. So, we have
we're doing and then we got to do number 6 in the future. Like, we're doing the even numbered ones because those are the good ones. 1 and 3 have redeeming qualities. 5 is kind of a garbage fire, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I especially have placed my heart for 3, because it has a lot of connective tissue with these 2 movies, and there actually is, in my opinion, some really fun stuff in that movie, but it's just not quite as well executed as 2 and 4. So. But 3 has the whole stealing the Enterprise sequence, which I think is just utterly brilliant.
And the repercussions of 3 are felt in this film. That's why they're this is a Star Trek movie without the Enterprise in it. I mean, there's a shot of the Enterprise, the new Enterprise at the end of the film. But this movie does not have the Enterprise in it. Not a character in this film. They have this clunky old warbird that's barely getting them by, but it has a cloaking device.
But they have U.S. Navy Enterprise in it, which is also very cool.
You know what? Fair point. Fair point.
But I've always really loved that the ship of this movie is the Klingon bird of prey, because for me, that's why that ship is so iconic, because
it's a sexy ship.
Because it's used by our main characters in this film, and it's just, it creates a very different feel, because it's an extraordinarily different kind of ship.
Yeah, I'm looking for some of my favorite images.
But anyway, so the repercussions of 3 are heavily felt throughout this, and that's where most of the comedy with Spock comes from, the fact that he's having to relearn, the things about himself, and I've seen this movie a billion times, and today I was just chuckling along with, jokes that I've heard a million times, but how do you feel? I do not understand the question. How do you feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Yeah, that. And that sound is burned into my brain.
Yeah, Scotty talking to the computer, man.
And then he gives him the mouse, and he picks up the mouse and tries.
Hello, to computer.
Hello, computer. Hello.
And then a keyboard. How quaint.
Oh, and then he just like typing speed is ridiculous. I'm like, dude, hunt peck. That's kind of what you would expect uh, someone of Scotty's actual generation to do on screen, but
I just like how, he's punching these individual keys in and these complex
oh yeah,
designs are popping up. It's like
like
I need to know that combination of keys.
like you're using DOS. I know this. That screen is green. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're using
Look, man. Look.
Somehow the computer
Star
got
Trek
better.
has always been the science fiction that can solve its problems by reversing the polarity of the positron flow. So I'm not going to hold its feet to the fire on that either.
Oh yeah, no, it's
yeah. I'm just kidding.
We're
It's
just
it was
having
another
fun.
it was just another comedic moment, To me, I found that as a nice chuckle.
And it's something that like I found really funny on this viewing, but something that as a kid would never have even occurred to me. So it's one of those things that growing up, I'm like, yeah, computers don't work like that.
Right.
Yeah, he definitely took typing in school.
Right. So actually, yeah, what he was doing is he wasn't actually typing a formula or anything. He was literally just like space, O equals O, space, like carriage return to get to the next line down. He was just creating like an ASCII file of a chemical shape. Yep.
But no, speaking of that scene, I actually I wonder how you feel about this, Nessie, because this may be why you enjoyed this one, because one of the things about the time travel in this movie is it's not complicated. Like it's what they need to do to get into the past, and they're not really that concerned with altering things, because in this scene it's like if we give it if we give him this formula, we're altering the future. Why? How do we know he didn't invent the thing?
weren't those a gift from Bones? They will be again. That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. Like, they don't even bother with the time loop, conundrum, closed loop, open loop. Who cares? They're just, we're here to free Willy and get him back in the tank.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that one is a closed loop, and the glasses are a closed loop, which, if we want to get hyper technical, like that's it creates a paradox. How did he get the glasses originally if Kirk sold him the glasses?
Well, and also it means the glasses are deteriorating more and more every time they go through the loop.
Right. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, they don't have the original lenses already, so it doesn't matter.
Which means that there has to be a point of origin where they came into the possession of the dealer. So they are changing the past. They are.
And my mind just goes to that line from Looper. I don't want to talk about time travel, because then we're going to get charts out.
Don't make me get the pie. Don't make me
but
get
again,
the
this movie just does it in a way that, like, it's the time travel isn't the important thing. We're going to time travel. Shenanigans are going to happen. We're going to have misunderstanding. Some lady's going to grow a new kidney because McCoy gave her a pill.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
And see, this is where those
dialysis. What is this? Those Middle Ages?
Yeah, and this is how things ended up in the National Enquirer first. Because nobody is going to believe this. And it'll just end up as a story in the Enquirer, and that's fine.
I know, and that's the thing. Another reason why I brought up that story with my mom is because she is so tied to my memory of this movie as well. Because as we're talking about stuff like the scene with the old lady with dialysis and stuff like that, I don't just have memories of me laughing at that. I have memories of my mom laughing at all this stuff, because, like, I don't know that she was. Actually, I'd say that I was about to say I don't know that she was a big Star Trek fan, but I think she did watch the original series when it was on, and I don't know if she was a fan of the more like complicated movies, like I don't know if Wrath of Khan was probably her least favorite, actually.
Okay.
Oh, wow, really?
Just because I think some stuff about it freaked her out, like the little worms and stuff like that.
The earworms.
Yeah. But she loved this movie, and most importantly, she loved watching it with me. I know that, and we just always cracked up, like especially the scene where Spock goes into the whale tank, and Kirk is just like,
oh yeah. Can't take him anywhere.
Just Gracie's pregnant. That was the best. And then
Yeah.
the way she
Gracie's
freaks
pregnant.
out. What? How do you know that?
Well, she knows.
how do you know that? Nobody knows that. Gracie does.
She knows that. Yeah.
Oh, this movie is just eminently quotable too. And just, again, all the little fish out of water moments. You don't have to be a big, like, it is what it is. There's a scene on the bus where some punk rocker is blasting his music and flips off Spock, and Spock nerve pinches him and he passes out. And it was like even memed on in season 2 of Picard, which I did not think was very well placed fan service, IMO. But in this film, like, it's a moment and it's funny. The guy is like Margaret Thatcher's grandson, and he's also a producer on the film.
Okay.
The guy that's blasting the music, the punk rock guy.
The punk rock guy, yeah.
Oh, wow. I love that guy. Not sure about his relations, but
yeah. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah. But no, I love that. And it was even funnier watching it today, because I'm like, Spock, just makes this guy completely pass out. You don't know like what he's done to him. And everybody on the bus is like so happy because the noise stopped. It's like, is he okay? We don't care.
Right. Well, he was blasting his music. He asked him to turn it down nicely, flipped him off and cranked it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, he had it coming. He had it coming. He had it coming. Sorry. No copyright strike.
No, yeah, God, it's and by the way, I actually got to watch this today on for the first time. I hadn't gotten around to it because I bought it I guess 2 years ago now. The 4K Ultra HD of this movie, which was great because the Blu-ray was terrible.
Was it?
So this is like the first time I've seen like a really proper good transfer of the film, and it just brought me back to like, made me nostalgic for watching the movie when I was a kid.
Like color correction or something?
No, they used a lot of digital noise reduction on the original Blu-rays for the Star Trek movies, so some of the movies look like they're pastel paintings. Yeah, so not great.
Like they're desaturated, you mean?
Not desaturated, but like pretty much on every like Blu-ray or any format, there's a certain amount of noise reduction that you have to do, but sometimes the studios crank it up to get rid of like film grain and stuff. And if you turn it up, like if you use too much of it, the movies can end up looking really, it's like a waxy look to the picture. And then if you do what the Star Trek movies had done to them and take it up even more of a notch, I'm not kidding when I say it looked like a pastel painting, like those weird like octagonal shapes in those types of paintings. Like Star Trek 6 especially looks like, if you pause it, it looks like a painting rather than a film still.
Okay.
It's
okay. Well, let's take your word for it.
Yeah, I'll take
that. Yeah, that's my digression.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I asked. Thank you for teaching me not to do that again.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
You have me on here for the technical stuff.
I do.
What my whole deal was.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we also have you here for the musical references. So what did you think about the score, Chuck? Well, there, of course. Of
Oh,
course,
the
he had
glare.
that. So
I actually love the score to this. It's completely different from virtually all of the other scores. The composer, his name is Leonard Rosenman, and he's a very classical composer. He's been doing stuff since back in the 1950s, or I don't know. I said that in the present tense. I don't think he's alive anymore. So he did scores all the way back in the 50s. I think he did a couple of the Planet of the Apes movies. He did Fantastic Planet, or Fantastic Voyage. I don't know, one of those fantastic movies. And then also the animated Lord of the Rings.
no. Then
But he has a very old-fashioned style of composing. I think you hear that in this movie.
Show me your. Can I see your disc again?
Yeah.
This is the one I got.
Oh, this is the soundtrack.
This one DVD.
Yeah, I have the collector's edition DVD.
Okay. I have this one DVD. 6 movies. 1 through 6.
That's interesting because that has the collector's editions of the first 3 movies.
It does.
So that must have come out before they had finished doing collector's editions for the other ones.
It's what I got.
That's actually pretty neat.
It is. Hey, Slasher Fred, how you been? I haven't seen you in a minute.
And then, of course, here's my 4K.
Right. We already did discuss kind of at the beginning how this is not a comedy, but it's the funniest Star Trek, which is probably why it's all of our kind of favorite, or at least part of the reason, because it's just funny. It's just funny.
And whales.
And whales.
And whales.
Which, and you said it, Stephen, like the no one will ever be able to argue that the movie isn't heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching this and I'm like, well, shit, we still haven't gotten the message.
Right?
So, like, I think it needs to be heavy-handed.
Right. Subtlety doesn't always work. I mean, some people have gotten the message, but you're right. Humanity as a collective has not.
Not gotten the message because there are still whalers out there that are hunting whales for fun and profit, I guess.
And even like beyond just the specific message of, hunting endangered species, but on a larger scale of us basically screwing ourselves by not taking care of our planet and all the creatures that
are here
reside on this planet. Collectively, we still not enough of us give a shit about that.
It's pretty unsubtle in that.
Yeah.
The Earth is about to be destroyed because we let the whales die.
Let the whales die out.
Don't let the whales die. Don't let the Earth die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
don't kill the ocean,
Right.
I just found that like
I find myself at a loss for words for what to say after that.
I found myself as I was watching this and realizing like, these are messages that I sort of absorbed as a kid, like on the face of it, like, we shouldn't hunt endangered species, but watching it as an adult and knowing like, and being more aware of all the stuff going on in the world today and realizing that this came out in 1986, which is like almost 40 years ago?
Yeah. Almost 40 years ago.
And like this is still super relevant, and that sucks.
Almost 4 decades.
Yeah. And like that is what science fiction is supposed to do, though. It is supposed to reflect on the present through the lens of the future, of the imagined future. So, yeah. they were reflecting on the imagined future of an Earth facing some pretty tough times because of things that we could have prevented and didn't in our hubris and in our self-importance.
Yeah.
There was a Russian and a woman, a black woman. Is that why you hated this movie? I'm sorry, I'm really setting you up there by not showing the first part of your message. But
I was going to say, you're really taking that out of context.
I really, you know what, though? We love you, Easy.
But by the way, like the whole thing, can you tell us where the nuclear vessels?
Nuclear
Vessels.
And just the blank stare of the cop.
Like,
rank admiral.
Yeah, and this was still, 1986.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Cold War and all
Cold
that.
War was still cold.
Oh, Slasher Fred, you missed the first part of this stream. We did discuss that, but it bears mentioning again about the Challenger disaster and the way that this film is sort of like devoted to the memory of that. Ooh, I'm gonna sneeze here in a second.
Bless.
Bless me ahead of time.
Yep, bless you ahead of time.
You might stop it before it happens. It's not going away yet, though. I know. It's like, okay, here it comes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, they give the tribute to the Challenger and all of the, accomplishments that we have made so far, and not to let the Challenger incident shit can our, love of space, and that.
Well, again, like it's risk reward. It's high risk, high reward venture. It sucks that specific one.
Yeah,
the one where it failed because of Krista McAuliffe, the teacher that was on board, and to teach from space. But the thing is, like, this many years later, she still remembered the space program moved forward massively in terms of safety and inspection, and like that is the path to Star Trek.
Yeah.
We have to get past the now to get to the then.
Yep.
Yeah, and
to just keep, working for it and hoping for it, and maybe in 150 years, we'll get first contact.
It's really interesting to me. I mean,
or at least,
I mean, the notion of having that in front of the movie is such a dark thing to have happened, but then to have the tribute in front of this particular movie, because I know that Leonard Nimoy had said that, like, the previous couple movies have been really heavy and dark, and he wanted to return to sort of a lighter adventure in the vein of the TV series, and to have this be very much that type of story. And a consequence of that is that it's also a very optimistic story about it shows where we were going wrong at the time, and we're still going wrong, but it pointed to a more optimistic future, where these whales can go and they will be safe, and
all of humanity was saved by one breeding pair of humpback whales.
Yeah. And
that's a lot to hang our hopes on, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Again, we're skipping over the like. Yeah.
And so I think that this couldn't have been more timely in that sense, because I think that I don't know what the nation's like state of consciousness after that tragedy was. I was only 2 years old, but with Star Trek being such a sort of beacon of hope, and like pointing at it, saying this is what the space program is about. This is the future we're working towards. I think it was probably very inspiring coming off of such a dark thing to look to this and to have that tribute there, and to, you know, look at this as, you know, it might have felt different if it was one of the darker, you know, Star Trek movies, but because it's more optimistic, I just, you know, not to say there's anything that quote unquote worked out beautifully about, you know, that tragedy, but it's, I think it was probably good that this movie was there, because sometimes, you know, it's just entertainment, but sometimes the right kind of entertainment can lift people when they need it. So.
Yeah.
Well, and again, that's part of what I think the charm of this specific movie is that it manages to walk the line between humor and its heavy-handed concept, and servicing the actual characters in the story, and letting them have maybe not arcs per se. You know, Kirk has a little bit of an arc. Spock has a little bit of an arc. Most of the bridge crew just have shenanigans.
Yeah.
You know? Which is fine.
Yeah, they all get to shine in their moment, you know.
But like, those characters have already developed over previous films and things, so like they feel they don't need an arc in, like, as a film, sure, like, but you don't watch this movie in a vacuum. It's clearly part of a series. You don't watch any movie that's part of a series in a vacuum, you know.
That's the thing. Like, and this is why, like, I can get very film theory about the stuff I watch, and like point out, like, you know, this character goes on this arc through the story, but you know what, McCoy doesn't really get an arc in this movie, but no. God damn, he's so priceless throughout it. And I'll take the banter between him and Spock in this, you know, over a traditional character arc, just because it's golden. And it also serves Spock's arc in the story, because it points out to, and like their conversations, especially earlier in the film, sort of point out, you know, the distance Spock still has to go, and I think by the end of this movie you do see him like understanding and embracing his humanity, you know, more. And but no, the stuff between them, like when McCoy is trying to get him to talk about, you know, what it was like to die and stuff, it's like, and come on, Spock, it's me, McCoy. You really have gone where no man's gone before.
We have no shared frame of reference.
You mean I have to die to discuss your insights on death?
He does get some really good comedic lines, and I love just his whole just slash and commentary on modern medicine. You know, so I just, what are you, barbarians? Dialysis? You know, like, yeah, I just, I was
the Dark Ages.
Yes.
Bones remains as like curmudgeonly as ever, but like, hats off to DeForest Kelley. I've met most of the bridge crew of the Enterprise at various conventions and stuff over the years. He's one that slipped through the cracks, and unfortunately he's gone now. James Doohan is another one that I didn't get to meet. I've met George Takei, Shatner, Nimoy when he was alive a long time ago, and then Walter Koenig. But yeah, I had always wanted to meet DeForest Kelley, because somehow that grumpy pain in the ass manages to still be caring and lovable, despite the fact you just want to like roll your eyes at him or choke him sometimes. But he's like, but he is going to take care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's funny. I've never really thought about it that much, but it is so strange how, he acts the way that he does, but he is one of the characters that's like, and a lot of the original crew are like this, but it's funny how he just wormed his way into my heart, growing up. And even I think that, okay, 5 is categorically awful, but I actually really do enjoy this stuff when they're all around the campfire. And a lot of that is down to him.
Yeah.
He's so
Which
great.
is sort of like maybe you could just view that scene as sort of like the epilogue of this movie, if you wanted.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's so good. And yeah, so he adds a lot of comedy throughout in this. And yeah, George Takei actually probably, he doesn't get that much to do in this other than he pilots the ship. And he gets his little bit with the helicopter. But we're slowly building him up to
do.
Yeah, but we're slowly building him up over the films to take command of Excelsior.
Yeah.
But he gets to wear a cape, so hats off.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his wardrobe is great.
His wardrobe is fabulous. Of all of them, his is the best.
And speaking of wardrobe, going back to Spock, like I've always loved that just because growing up, even before I was in karate, I always wanted to, to take karate. So just him putting on the headband and wearing like the white robes and stuff, I was like, yeah,
it's kind of ridiculous,
Yeah, like Sulu is not even in this picture, is he? Oh, that's him. You know what? Nessie, lean to the other side real quick.
Oh yeah,
he's like right under Kirk's chin.
I'm pointing him out on the screen, like you all can see.
Exactly I'm pointing at him with my cursor, which is also not helpful.
Yeah, it's right. He's right there. Right there.
But that kind of sums up his place in the movie.
Yeah, unfortunately. You see everybody else just looking around at him too.
Like
we're just standing here, watching these three interact with one another.
Kirk and McCoy are trying to figure this out. Chekhov and Scotty are back there. Okay, we got you back. Yeah. Like you got Sulu's barely in it, and then Spock like a sore thumb.
It pretty much sums it up, right?
Looks like he's recruiting for a cult. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well, it's funny you say. As a kid, I always thought it was very clear that he looked like he was in the martial arts.
Well, that was really? John. Yeah, the Karate Kid had just come out too, so we could think he's putting on the little thing like.
I mean, granted, now I realize that I don't really know of any martial artists that wear a full-on robe, but
Splinter, I don't know.
I don't know, but that's what the headband made it look very.
It was the headband.
Karate.
Yeah, legit. It was the headband that made the entire outfit.
Can you guys do the eyebrow thing?
No. The thing I can lay claim. The thing I can lay claim to is I can.
Oh yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm not special.
Not special at all.
I can't do it with this one. With this one, it's like so.
But I can only do it on the one side. I can raise both eyebrows together, but the single I can only do it on. Only on my left, which looks like the right on the screen. But I promise it's my left eyebrow. Anyway, I'm confusing myself. It's so weird because it's not mirrored for me, which means it's anyway. Let's just go back and just talking about the movie rather than my getting lost in like reflectional dynamics. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. Sulu does not have much to do.
But he still seems like he makes like he has his moments. Like it's, I mean, I joke about, he just mainly pilots the ship, but but I have memories ingrained in my head of Sulu doing the whole, warp 6, warp 7, warp 8,
9.
warp 9, and so like, even in that he gets, moments, and then the stuff with the helicopter where he's like, I flew something similar to this in my academy days, so this must be old stuff to you. Oh yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But yeah, no, Chekhov, has a great time in this movie.
Yeah, he's the one that sneaks aboard the Enterprise to steal the charged particles or whatever,
Yeah. The Russian person sneaking aboard a U.S. military.
There is an R word in this movie that's dropped. That's a word we don't use anymore. But it's like when they're interrogating Chekhov and they're like, "Are you a spy?" No, I'm not a spy. You keep lying to me and you're done. Okay, I'm done then. Can I go now?
Yeah.
What is he? He's a Russian. Oh, no, of course he's a Russian, but he's a, handicapped person or something. And just the way that, again, it's that fish out of water story for everyone here.
Which, by the way, what's so brilliant about this moment from a music standpoint is that most of the 1986 stuff is unscored. You have a bit when they first arrive, which is more like the music of the period. Very energetic, when, they're walking in traffic and Kirk has his double dumbass on you.
Yeah.
And there's no music again until Chekhov tries to use the phaser. He's like, must be the radiation, and then he throws it, and then it's this,
chasing.
The chasing with this, again, a very classical style of music, and so there's a huge gap in this movie where there's no score whatsoever, and I just find that really interesting. It's a unique choice. In Star Trek movies, which usually have a lot of music. But it's also a testament to the time in which this was made, because nowadays we expect movies to have wall-to-wall scoring.
Yeah, it's almost noticeable when they don't these days. You know what? That's a good point to just slide into the mid-roll, all right?
All right.
Hi, everybody. This is the mid-roll, where we ask you to please like and subscribe. If you have not liked it, or subscribed it, we would ask you to do so now, please. I want to make sure we thank our patrons because they are the best. We love them like unconditionally, except unconditionally. You know what?
I have conditions.
Unconditionally, asterisk. Oh no, I missed a name. When I did the copy paste, I missed the bottom name. I'll add it in after the stream. Our patrons are dragons, little dragons. If you become a patron, you too can become a literal dragon, or at least I will refer to you as such, and that's all that really matters, right? Is that somebody believes in you and you're a dragon? Our great worm dragons are Ridiculous, Ed Tollett, our alpha patron, Sean, who was in here earlier. Yay! There he is. Hey, buddy. Thank you, Sean. We love you. Also, Lord John Braunstein the Wise, who will be attending Ice and Fire Con in 2 weeks. which we'll get to.
Oh shit!
They
2
are
weeks.
also attended by the elder dragons of the realm, including the Cloaked One of the Underworld, Ryan Stavka, the Russian Quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, Arch-Maester Emma, Kate, Mistress of the House of Books, who will be at Ice and FireCon, Jared Kozal, Doctor of Dragons, Lady Maura Lee of Starfall, and Lady Rita, the Unbound, who will also be at Ice and FireCon. And if you look at our dragon patrons, who will get a shout out because a lot of them will also be at Ice and FireCon. Julie Beth of Tarth will be there. Lady Kelly, the Jaded Redhead, will be there. Blue Lemon will not be there, unfortunately, but we're already in talks about next year. Emily of the Eyrie will be there. William the Tindalos Traveler will be there. I don't think Guilty Undertaker is making it. Paul H. will be there.
Yes.
And I don't think Allison Kreutzberg will be there, but come if I think there's still time. I think you can probably still get in under the wire if you wanted to go. Ice and FireCon in 2 weeks. All right, so we shouted out to patrons. If you want to be a patron, link is down in the description. Ice and FireCon in 2 weeks, guys, right?
Yes.
So that being said, John, you, me, next week, we'll gather up a couple of people we're excited to do stuff with, and we'll have a pre-convention bash next week. Unfortunately, Nessie, I know you won't be there, but
that's okay. I'm here in my heart.
So what did we decide with Mandalorian?
Nothing. When did I ever decide anything ever?
Well, no, I just like when we're going to actually do it because the series, the season wraps up.
I get it.
Week.
The series ends this week. Do you want to do that instead? And we'll do like a post-con thing instead?
Unless we want to wait and wait for when we can have Nessie to wrap up.
Well,
the season, it'll be a couple weeks.
Yeah, it'll be like 3 weeks, 4 weeks from now. Because next week she's not here. The week after that is Ice and FireCon. The week after that she's not here because of work. So, yeah.
So, what say you, Nessie? If you want us to wait, we'll wait.
No, you guys can go right ahead.
Do you want to just do it next weekend then instead?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. Fantastic. That's decided. Next week, Mando Part 2. We did Part 1 already, for this season. Easy peasy. We have a group. It is a great group of people. We use a format called Slack. It is kind of similar to Discord. It's different a little bit, but it's pretty similar to Discord. If you would like to join our Slack group, just send me an email to we3dragons@gmail.com. we3dragons@gmail.com. I'll get you
Weth Reed Dragons.
Wet H Reed Dragons. Yeah.
Reed Wagons.
We don't need a long mid-roll, really.
No.
So if you guys want to just get back into the conversation.
Well, not yet, because
Ron Webster does have something coming up.
Hey, I'm doing a stream next week, tentatively on Saturday. I'm pretty sure it'll be Saturday, but let's wait and see. So far, I'm having AK, Miss Alicia Kingston coming on. Possibly, if I can get him to answer, and I think he's in the chat right now, Danny, if he'll come on. And I'm also working on Dan, but he says he is D&D possibly. I think this is more important. I'm going to be doing a stream on season 3 of Star Trek Picard. So yeah, look forward to that. That'll be I'm planning it to be Saturday at 7 p.m. But
did you just watch our number of viewers plummet when you said that this was more important than D&D? Like, some people just left. We had 112 people watching concurrently. We're down to 11.
What
Well,
happened?
sorry, it's worth it. Somebody's got to say it.
Okay.
So
Wow.
everybody tune in over on John Webster Film next Saturday at 7:00 for Picard season 3. Well, not the actual show. You have to watch the show and it'll be a discussion.
Do the things.
Yeah. So I'm very happy. It's my first stream in a year.
Yeah. It's been a minute, man.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, things have been hellish over the past year, so it hasn't been a priority for me, but I'm very happy to be getting back into it. And especially because I wanted to do one before Ice and FireCon, so I didn't push it to even further down the line. This way I can be back into the swing of things, and then I'm already talking with AK about doing some other streams coming up on certain movies that we both like, that might just be more for fun than a genuine cinematic appreciation. And I'll save the reveal on those until later, but yeah, so I'm not saying it's like permanent for,
But
the next however long, but I'm back doing some streams, and it starts next week. So yeah.
Great. Nessie, you got anything?
Playing D&D and running Cthulhu.
That's the other thing I should remember. I'm a professional dungeon master. I want to run your D&D game. You want to play a high level? Whatever. I got you, man. You just got to let me know. I will give you the game you want. You just have to let me know. Reasonable rates.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like my thing is, I'll also make it work for your schedule. Sometimes people want to play a game, but like they're like, I don't want to start off at first level or third level or whatever. Like, I just want to play a super powerful thing. Great. We'll make characters that are 17th level. And yeah. So spread the word. You know a professional dungeon master who's been doing this kind of thing for over 30 years. So yeah. Mm-hmm. This stream sponsored by me and my aspirations to be a professional game master full-time.
For all your gaming needs.
For all your gaming needs.
I approve, unless it interferes with one of my streams.
Right. Well,
because that's more important.
Because that's more important. Okay.
That's more important than your life.
We'll just make sure, like, just before you hire me, check with John about his stream schedule. Okay.
Yeah. Just block those times out.
Yeah, just block that out. All right, y'all. That's it for the mid-roll. We can get back to talking about this movie now. I unfortunately have to go take some pain medication. My back is killing me from sitting here for an hour. So I'm going to go walk it off for a minute. You guys got this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right. You're the captain now. You know what? Nessie, you have the bridge.
Oh, thank you. Nah, you trust me better.
No, Nessie, you were supposed to go, I'm the captain now.
Admiral Nessie. So, interesting thing I noticed on this watch. Weird, okay? And just out of and I'm sure millions of people have noticed this before, and it's just me because just notice things. But when the whales and the probe, which I'm sorry, it looked like a giant space poop. I'm just saying it. I'm saying what everybody's thinking. It looked like
I wasn't thinking that when I saw this as a little kid. I just
John. Oh, you were. How old were you?
I don't remember how old I was when I first saw it.
Below or above the age of 10?
I think below, because it was pretty early on when I lived here in Florida, and we moved here when I was about 8. So yeah. In any case, I didn't think that, Nessie.
I'm sorry. Maybe it's me. Maybe it was just, I don't know. It looked like a giant poop to me. So, but what I noticed this time was when it's finally, they released the whales and, George and Gracie are freed in the oceans of 23rd century Earth. And George finally starts singing the song, okay, and you get you get the shots of the whales on the water, and then apparently when the humpbacks sing, they get in that perpendicular position to do their singing, and then the space probe at the time mirrored it. It got into the vertical position as well to be I thought that was a really cool little parallel there. I just noticed it on rewatch. I'm sure, like I said, that millions of people noticed it before, but I haven't watched this in 30 years. So I just picked it up on the rewatch. I thought that was pretty cool.
I don't think I had noticed before that the whales were vertical. That
vertical.
That did stand out to me on this viewing. See, right there.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
You just have a foul mind, Nessie.
It just looked like I've got poop on the brain. Look like poop.
I naturally always thought the probe was a really cool design. I just like how the orb, whatever that is, how it comes out and the design of that, and because it's just very mysterious.
The little floating basketball thing, that was pretty cool. Cool design. Long cylinder. Okay, we won't call it a poop, but it's a long log of a thing. And
I think the reason why the design always appealed to me is just because it is so very alien. Like it's, because you can't figure out because it's not anything, familiar,
no.
Aside from to you, because it looks like poop, but
face poop.
But anybody who didn't have that thought, it doesn't, look.
Oh my God. All the poop jokes are in there, comparing this thing to the whales. It's splashdown time, Just sorry. Just so many poop jokes that you could make if you're like 13.
We were having such a good stream.
It was wholesome, wasn't it? Maybe Steve will have to come back. Maybe it's putting me in charge wasn't such a good idea. But the first officer, I am the science officer, and to me, it looked like poop.
I thought you were the captain.
No. I'm number one. You get to be number two.
And it just keeps rolling in.
Poop just keeps coming sometimes like that. So. John, was there anything that you noticed on rewatch this time other than where my mind went, but what did you pick up this time on rewatch?
I'm trying to think if there was anything, because I've seen this movie so many times, like the whales being vertical at the end was actually, I mean, it's something that maybe I noticed in the past, but I didn't remember noticing it. So that's just as good as it being new. I don't know. Yeah. And that's sort of a byproduct of, when you've seen a movie as many times as I've seen this, it can be hard to pick up new things. Yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed getting to revisit it. Just because, like I was saying before, this is one of the movies that really meant a lot to me growing up. It's and that's what I love stuff like this, because we were talking about how stuff from that you enjoyed when you were younger, like nostalgia doesn't always it's not always enough. And you go back to something and you're like, oh, why did I love it this that much? But it's just a joy to go back and revisit this, and I've got all those memories that make it, the N word nostalgic. But it's still fun. So,
John, I moved you to the bottom.
I don't know why I wasn't the one.
Because that's the first officer's position. I'm promoting you when I got back.
Okay.
See, most of the damage comes from that direction. So whenever it's like, oh, there's Klingons, I'm like, turn right. So Nessie gets it.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Plus, you were in that spot, John.
Mm-hmm.
No, but yeah, my back is really bothering me, but I'm going to come back for a little bit. If I got to jump off, I'm going to jump off. I'm not going to, my back hurts for a good reason, though.
That's fine. We have plenty of wholesome discussion to be had between me and Nessie.
Obviously, I was listening in on my phone when you guys were talking. This is when I went away. It's all right, Nessie. Still love you.
That's what I noticed, man.
Yep.
You want my unfiltered.
This is why we talk about this. Is like we're having a good time. One of the things that impressed me about this movie is the composite shots, and there are quite a few of them actually. The more I think of it, because I think the lowering the thing when the bird of prey is cloaked and in the park. There's quite a few composite shots. There's some really fantastic visual effects, storytelling going on there, like the way the garbage can crumples and then the ground sinks underneath it. Like that's a really fantastic shot. Or like when they have the helicopter and they're lowering the transparent aluminum in, or I guess that's plexiglass. They're lowering in the plexiglass.
Right, yeah.
And it's just kind of disappearing because the ship is cloaked. That's a composite shot, and it's really well done.
Yeah. I think it held up pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, I keep bringing up memories having to do with my mom, but that's just, this movie has so much of that for me. Every time her and I ever went out somewhere, maybe not every time, but quite often, one of us would always, when we got out of the car and start, going into whatever store, one of us was bound to say, everybody remember where we parked.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, that's the more quotable a movie is, the more it will resonate through time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, like, I can't even remember the whole context of the scene, but like, can't you just do this, Buck? The hell I can't.
Oh, and about those colorful metaphors we discussed, I don't think you should use them as much. For one thing, you don't quite have the knack of it. As opposed to Kirk, he's
right. Double dumbass on you.
And then he keeps using them after that. This body is like, the hell I can't.
But there really is this beautiful thing, because Spock really does have a bit of an arc in this movie.
Yeah, just a bit.
Because he's, recently regenerated from being, the whole Genesis event thing from Star Trek 2 into Star Trek 3. Like, it does have, there is a sort of narrative through line of all of the films together. But this movie is very much still Spock's film in a lot of ways. It's Kirk's film too. And I love how the end of it, like, because they start out, they're on the run, they're hiding out, Spock is trying to rehabilitate, and this film ends with Kirk being court-martialed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget. Oh yeah, we're court-martial. We're gonna bust you down in rank to captain. Here's the spaceship.
Yeah. Go do what you do best.
Go do the thing that you do. We should have never promoted you to Admiral.
Yeah. It was a bad decision on our part.
Thank you, Weezy. We love you.
Which, and there is a larger discussion to be had, speaking of the narrative arc across, all these movies, the fact that the idea behind Star Trek 2 was pushing Kirk to be growing older and to recognize that he's not invincible, and that it's the deconstruction of him running around playing cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the end of this film he gets to go back and live out the dream of being the starship captain and go galaxy hopping. So there is a debate to be had as to whether from a character perspective, whether that's a strong direction to go. But at the end of the day, it's Star Trek, and we like to see Kirk, as captain of the Enterprise, and
hold on. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Paul. See you in Ice and FireCon in 2 weeks.
Yay!
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. See you soon. Those glasses, those reading glasses that he picked him up into, that was a significant thing for him. He had to put on his reading glasses. And then here he is, in a sense, okay, I'm turning in my reading glasses, he gives them to, oh, don't worry, I'll get them back later.
I really do, and we see it. Well, maybe not in Star Trek 5 so much, but in Star Trek 6, we do see a much more cautious Kirk than we would have seen in the past.
Mm-hmm. And part of the reason for that is that you have Nicholas Meyer back in the director's seat for 6 after he did 2, which was the movie about Kirk getting older. And so, 5 is just the bump in the road, especially because it's Shatner directing.
Oh.
And there's nobody who doesn't want Kirk to be getting older more than Shatner. So that is in addition to it not being really a good movie, it's also a major bump in the road from a character perspective, because it just because it's Shatner let loose to do
Shatner being
Shatner thing.
Most other Star Trek canon assumes Star Trek 5 didn't exist. Although I will say, Strange New Worlds did not ignore Star Trek 5 because they brought back Spock's brother. Cyborg.
Oh.
But it's good. It's good anyway.
I actually don't hate 5 as much as I'm going on, but I just acknowledge that 5 is the one that's almost universally considered to be the worst.
It's the weakest of them. Even if I still I've seen it several times when I was younger.
And it actually has one of the of course I'm going to say this, but it has one of the best scores of the entire series. Jerry Goldsmith did the music for that, and it's brilliant.
What's the best score?
Are we talking just the original
the best
movies?
Score is 21-27. There's still a clear victor, but it's a close match, and it's exciting to watch.
I was thinking something similar.
Yeah, thank you, Nessie. All right, dad jokes out of the way, John. Please continue about the score of this film.
Here, I thought you were seriously asking.
No, come on.
Well, I wasn't talking about the score of this movie. I was talking about the score to 5.
Oh, okay.
No, and I talked about the score to this one because it was composed by Leonard Rosenman, and it's very different from all the other scores in the films.
I liked it.
It's very, and what's funny about especially the main title and the fact that I believe this came out later in the year around Christmas time, and the main title is a very holiday sounding piece of music. So it was perfect for the season. And actually, a bit of trivia for the music, because hey, you asked, so I'm going there. Is that on my soundtrack album, which is an expanded release, there's actually an alternate main title on there that they almost used, which is a version of the original television show theme, which Leonard Nimoy wanted to go with that originally because he wanted this to evoke episodes of the television series. But for whatever reason, they just in the end decided it didn't work as well as they had hoped, and so they did a new piece, which is what's in the movie now. But I think a lot of the filmmakers have struggled to make the original theme music work for the films because it is a very 60s piece of music. But they finally did it with the end credits of the newer films. They like reorchestrated it and did all that, but yeah, they do have the original theme at the end of this movie when the Enterprise is revealed, and it's very like sweeping, beautiful. And I know we said like the Enterprise only, the actual Enterprise only shows up, once in this movie, but man, what a moment! It's spine tingling.
And like, again, like any good science fiction franchise, the ship is a character in the film, and we didn't. And one of the premier characters in the franchise, it's the Enterprise. It's been in every single, and obviously it's in this movie, but like it's absent as a character or as a setting in the film. Again, I don't know what class this is. It's a Klingon bird of prey, but it's got some weird Klingon name like Vorka or something, I think there really is a Vorka class cruiser, but that might be wrong. Anyway, but I love the ship, and it does a great job of standing in as a rusty thing that's just barely held together. It's fast, and it's stealthy, but like it's also like it couldn't scratch the Enterprise.
Oh no, yeah.
No.
And it's great because like as they're going to warp speed, like there's stuff like
just
flying
flying
over and
yeah. It's like you can see this rickety piece of junk is barely holding it together,
But
maybe this wasn't
it was
a good
nice
idea.
to like get the new and improved Enterprise at the end of this film, which is the one we still have at the end in movie number 6, which, if I'm being honest, I think movie number 6 is my personal favorite. This one gets a lot of nostalgia points for me, but I think 6 is the superior film. One man's opinion.
I think of the originals, like when I was younger, it absolutely would have been this one.
For me too.
Yeah, but I think it's actually Wrath of Khan for me. I know that's such a cliched answer, but
there's a
but it is. But if we're including the Next Generation films, First Contact for me,
it's a great one. John, I will not judge you for your meme answer in Star Trek if you don't judge me for like The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars. Like, duh, it's the meme answer. It's the obvious.
Well, you're also right.
Yeah, I know I am. Oh, hello, Dan Sheehan.
Until they edit Siege of Mandalore into a feature-length film.
Movie? Okay.
Yeah. Once they do that, that's going to be my top one.
Well, Dan Sheehan, it's nice to see you. We don't always talk about Star Trek. We are this week. We've already talked about Star Trek we've been meandering in and out of Star Trek discussion for an hour and a half. But yeah, go back and watch from the beginning. We're having a blast, not taking it too seriously.
Although, Dan, if you're just coming in, I feel I should mention next Saturday over on my channel, John Webster Film, I'll be doing a review of Picard Season 3 with with some people. So I'd love for you to come over and check that out.
Yeah, and the link to John's channel is in the description of this video. John Webster film. It's right down there. And yeah, that's Saturday next week.
Yeah. Today's Sunday. So the next
6 days from now.
Upcoming Saturday. Yeah, at 7:00.
But yeah, guys, my back is really bothering me, so I'm going to share my final thoughts so that I can leave anytime I need to, and then one of you can take over if you guys want to keep going.
Okay.
You better let John drive.
Okay. I'm trying to put there it is. Fair. Like,
okay,
I haven't watched Season 3 of Picard either. But yeah, so my big takeaway from this is because it came out at a time where I was maybe just the right age to start picking up on the, subtler things. This is a very not subtle movie, but there are things that are more subtle. The sci-fi tropes that it manages to subvert along the way is kind of great, because a lot of times the sci-fi is still the action hero, and this is the least action hero-y Kirk I think I ever seen in a film. Even Star Trek 2, where he's dealing with the feeling like he's aging, part of that is juxtaposed against his physicality. Kirk's physicality in this film is basically zero.
Yeah, I don't think he does anything.
I don't think he throws a punch.
He releases the whales.
Okay, but
it's just that, and that's it.
But he doesn't run or jump or throw a punch or any of that.
No.
Which is quite a departure from a lot of standards. And yet I love the movie. It shows you that it showed 11-year-old me that I could really get invested in a story that didn't have transforming robots or mutated reptiles in it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was. And again, I remember seeing it at the movie theater at the mall that doesn't exist anymore. That mall is gone now. Yeah.
And
I was saying, I feel like movie number 6 is my personal favorite, but this is probably the one that really had to, because I was like, Star Trek is dorky. That's my parents' thing. Star Wars is way cooler. And then this one came along, and I'm okay. You know what? I can get behind this. And I was probably just at the right age for it to hit me that way. I was starting to think larger thoughts, being 11 when this came out. So yeah, I think what I'm trying to say is that this movie is probably formative and informative to my personality in ways that I'm not even fully aware. Because once I saw it, I loved it. And that was the rise of home video. So we had it on tape. I still got it on DVD, as you guys can see. I haven't updated into 4K, Blu-ray, blah, 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 blah. I don't do physical media the way you do, John. But yeah, I feel like I always can think back to something from this film that can be applicable to a lot of situations in life. Just in your personal life, you can think about something, even if it's double dumbass on you in a moment where somebody almost hits you, and it will diffuse it a little bit.
Yeah, there's
one of my favorite gags is they're having pizza and beer, and he's like, let me guess, there's no money in the future, so she has to end up paying for the date that they're on because
it's don't tell me they don't use money in the 23rd century. Well, they don't.
My God. So Dan Sheehan, I wonder if you are related to someone I know very well whose name is Potter. He is a god tier trolley punny. Yeah, he's famous around here. I really I wanted to appreciate the dad humor in this post.
Mhm. Yes.
We approve. I've
We
grown. I will roll my eyes, but like I approve anyway.
I hadn't read the whole thing, and
Yeah.
yes. I will
I
give
just
you
did.
I will give you the trifecta, sir. The
Mhm.
boo, the hiss, and the fooey.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, while I'm over here golf clapping.
Hmm. Well played.
Okay. I don't know that I have much else to say. I'm having trouble focusing, y'all. My back's bothering me. I'm on pain meds, so I'm a little loopy too. John,
All right.
you are the key. John has the bridge. Nessie, we saw what happened when I tried to put you in guard.
I get it. Yeah, that's fine.
So
That's
I'm
fine.
going to go off cam, mute. If I come back, I come back. But I got to get up and move, y'all. I can't sit here
Okay.
anymore.
All right.
But yeah, if I don't come back, I love you guys, and we'll see you next week for some Mandalorian season 3 wrap up talk. All right,
Cool.
have a good
All
one,
right.
y'all.
Take it easy. And so, going off of what Stephen was saying about the fact that we don't see Kirk, do like any fighting or anything in this movie, but we do get to see Kirk the flirt because
Yes.
he is just
God.
like it just. I remember watching this in school for my. And I can always hear the exasperated gasp whenever I say this for my science fiction class. And the whole class was like cracking up when it got to the part where I forget what it is that Jillian says, but Kirk starts doing this. You laugh like, you know. And then he does it a second time. It's like that is that is Kirk at his most Shatner right there.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of Shatner. Yes, it's very deep there. Yeah, he's at his best when he's at his least. Of when he puts the least amount of himself in it. But I guess there had to be some kind of negotiation, because he's like, wait a second, you're not letting me have a fight scene, you're not letting me run around and jump from building to chase a bad guy or whatever. It's like, do I at least get to kiss the girl? Do I at least get to kiss the girl? And she's like, how about we let her she just throws her arms around you and you have to take her. Well, okay.
And like,
but why do they have to take her though? I don't understand that. Just because she jumped in the beam, they could have sent her right back. They could have just sent her right back. There was plenty of time.
Yeah, okay? It's like
the batteries were full.
It's like, you tricked me. It's like, what? It's not a one-way thing. Just put her back in the transporter.
Put her back. Oh, you need a whale expert in the future because nobody knows about whales but me. And I'm like,
because it's not like
science hasn't advanced. I mean,
it's not like we haven't kept records of whales like the ones that Spock looked up on the freaking Klingon ship.
Yeah, apparently they're galaxy wide. Encyclopedia Galactica has an entry for several categories of whales, not just humpbacks.
But still, you want to keep her in the story, so it's like,
of course, yeah. Kirk does get his flirtatious
but
scenes.
And like, okay, like I'm kind of okay with like the kiss goodbye and all that stuff at the end, because at least by that point, like, she's in the future. She knows like it's all real. But I'm just cracking up at the point where she still thinks he's completely full of crap. And there he is trying to act like Mr. Suave.
Yeah.
It's like, she thinks you're crazy, dude.
She knows it. So she's like, oh, so you're telling me you took one of these and you flew at the sun. You're just straight at the sun and you just kind of use it to go back in time. You're crazy. Yeah, you're definitely, you definitely are.
I will say something that has crossed my mind a number of times that I've seen this movie is like, first Kirk, he fibs to her. That's a nice way of saying he lies. He does actually lie, where he decides to go with the uncomplicated version where he says what he's actually there to do is to bring 2 humpback whales back in an attempt to repopulate the species. He doesn't say anything about an alien probe or the world almost ending.
The human race.
And then it's like, is that a cut scene, like when she gets on the ship, and like, is there a moment where he takes her aside? It's like, ooh, by the way, you're probably going to your death.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough landing. We're kind of going into an apocalypse situation. Did I tell you this happens a lot? It happens a lot around me.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But
And how are you going to repopulate a whole species with just 2?
I was going to bring that up, but again, like, that goes back to, this is Star Trek. It's, like,
okay, maybe I don't know. They've got no genetic variation.
maybe they've made return trips and done what they should have done in the first place, was to go the uncomplicated route and just, pull whales from the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they went back, maybe they did the even smarter thing, which is go back even earlier before they're in danger. So they have more of a selection.
Oh yeah, they do need more of a selection. That's part of the problem. But hey, at least we know their radio frequency. So
yeah,
the poor whales who are alone in the vast ocean of 23rd century Earth, because there's no other whales to talk back to them, is not sad at all. Oh God, what did he say? Grab whales.
Yeah, we.
Oh, I'm not saying it was aliens. It wasn't aliens. It was time travelers. Go get some 10,000-year-old whale DNA. It's great.
But no, I think I think with the way they were thinking, the writers are thinking about it, it's like, no, the 2 whales, that's enough.
That's all.
Yeah.
And of course, Gracie's expecting. So,
There'd be some inbreeding going on.
Ooh, let's not talk about that. We're just glossing over all of that. Yeah, it's fine. Before you know it, the whales will be riding dragons and stuff. So it's
just drop the Game of Thrones theme music into the water.
Somebody make me a Photoshop of a whale wearing a blonde wig and riding a dragon. There you go. That's how far we've gotten into the weeds here.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just go through the movie and pick out some stuff.
Yes, John. I'm sorry.
Rather than
good.
Continuing on about these details that the writers clearly weren't concerned with, because it's just
whale
a fun
incest
movie.
is no big deal.
Now, I like going back to the beginning. This is something which I'd be lying if I said this was the first time I noticed, but it's something that I definitely only became aware of, like, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 viewings ago, which was when I was young, there's no way I would have gotten the HMS Bounty reference for the ship, but having grown older and actually seen the original Mutiny on the Bounty movie,
good movie.
I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, now I know what that means.
Yeah, nice catch there. Yeah, you should do that show one day. You should do that film on your show, on your channel, John. Mutiny on the Bounty.
Yeah, that's one that like doesn't immediately jump out as me being able to find too many people that would want to come on.
I don't know. You got about 6 hours out of the last thing you talked about ships, so Master and Commander. So
that's true, but this is a much older film. much older.
Still a good one.
Yeah, no, it's great. Let's see what else. Like in the beginning of just again, like I have to go on about the whole everything with Spock and McCoy. What's some of the?
Well, here's the thing. It's been the running theme, the running discourse between the two of them during the life of the series and then through the movies. McCoy is the poker about Spock and his humanity. Spock, you're human, you're half human. You have to remember, where are your feelings? You know, he's always been the prod for that. And you know, he is living up to that in this one. But even with, you know, even at the beginning of the movie when Spock's mother comes in and talks to him, it's like, this is also part of what you have to remember, because they're not going to go away. They are there.
That is something that I noticed for the first time, actually, on this viewing, was the connective tissue in the script of the fact that she says, he says, humans make very illogical decisions. And she says, they do indeed. And then it cuts to the probe. And it's like, so that's linking, you know, what's going on personally with him and what's going on with the story of what humanity has done, where they've and later when he says to hunt a species to extinction is not logical. And so, yeah, I really appreciated how the script connected the, you know, all that different stuff, which is not something that I had noticed previously, because when I was little, there's no way I was thinking.
Right. You wouldn't pick that up.
In terms of all that. Yeah, no, what's some other McCoy? Oh yeah, when Spock is like, I'm going to test my theory, and Kirk says, Bones, you stay here. And he says, no way, someone's got to keep an eye on him.
Yeah, because he's the one that's going to go off and do something silly.
But and then there's some really poignant stuff between them with really, once you start getting into the latter half of the movie, first when Kirk kind of blows up at Spock, and when Spock says, you know, and in that event, chances are our mission would fail, and Kirk says, our mission? Spock, you're talking about the end of every, you know, every life on Earth. Haven't you got any goddamn feelings about that?
Yeah.
And it really takes Spock aback in that moment. And then I love that bit where then he's in a scene with Scotty, and Kirk is like, Sir Scott, you have to do better. And then Scotty says something like, oh, he's in mood, isn't he? And Spock says he is a man of deep feeling. To which Scotty says, what else is new? But it shows that Spock is really thinking over kind of that previous, you know, a bit with Kirk. And then later on, McCoy comes back in, and, you know, after, you know, Spock says, so I will have to make a guess. And Kirk, you know, jovially says, you, Spock? that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then McCoy is, talking about, he means he feels
They
more
trust you.
confident. He can trust your guesses more
Mhm.
than other people's facts.
Mhm.
And Spock's like, so it is a compliment. It is. Well, then I will try to make the best guess I can. But it's so great. Like that stuff with the relationships of the characters is so beautiful.
Thought I'd just jump
Nice,
back
Steven.
in for those last section, y'all. Sorry.
No,
Oh,
that's
I went
fine.
and medicated again. So while I'm writing that high, I thought I'd just join for this last little bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finally getting down into like actual emotional character beats instead of just all the funny lines. Because there's some stuff, and also, beyond just the stuff with McCoy and Spock, then you get to the end of the film, and like that moment where Kirk sees Spock going up to his father, he just sort of hangs back. I don't
Mhm.
think he's super obvious about it, but he just is observing the moment, and just Spock and Sarek don't have the easiest time communicating. And their relationship is tense, but I love the way that both actors play that scene, because like they don't even let, like, Sarek doesn't go all the way over to like turning over into a more quote unquote human like emotional father. Like I love the beat where he says, uh your associates are people of good character, and to which Spock says, they are my friends. And then Sarek is like, yes, of course. Like,
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, of course they.
there's still a little bit of like,
Yeah.
he doesn't completely get it,
Mhm.
but he knows that his son's bond with with those people is strong, and so he's going to respect that.
Well, for him, that they're being of good character is like the highest praise, that
Yeah.
Mhm.
someone like Sark could give someone, especially a human,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that they're good. It's kind of like giving them the nod, like you're good enough to hang around with my son. You're all right, I guess. Yeah,
By the
they
way,
got
I can't believe nobody has commented on my ship name. It's the
the
best.
second prize.
Yeah, the USS Second Prize. I can't believe we've gotten all through this whole stream and nobody said anything about it. I'm a little disappointed. Mainly in myself, because if it was funnier, somebody would have pointed it out. And,
I think it was too smart for me, Steven, because I didn't like I didn't catch it, but now that like I see it, I
oh,
actually
so
really
it's not
love
that I
that.
wasn't clever enough; it's that I was too clever.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it, man. I'll take it.
But yeah, and then the button on that scene is just, do you have a message for your mother? Yes. Tell her I
I
feel
feel
fine.
fine.
I feel fine.
And you know what? Like, that is a great, as far as the Vulcan is concerned, it's a great into his emotional arc through the film. Like, he starts out not even understanding, and he ends with, "I feel fine." Like, which is a response that only a human would give. A Vulcan would never say, "I feel fine," unless it was actually very specifically, like, you ask a Vulcan how they're doing. I feel, physically, I am uninjured, blah, blah. You can see a Vulcan answering that way, and they wouldn't even consider their emotional state.
Mhm.
Yeah, and And speaking of, I was also thinking about this while I watched the movie today, and I don't know that I've ever thought super hard about it, but what's very interesting about the fact that he starts off this movie like sort of a bit closed off from his human side, and he is approaching things from a very Vulcan perspective, and he doesn't really understand. But I actually think what we start to see towards the end of this film, and I think it continues on, is that I actually think that his human side ends up coming out even more than originally, especially by like 6, and then when
by 6, he's like fully integrated his emotional self into his whole personality.
Yeah. So I just I find that really interesting. Just that's the arc he goes on from like here on out. I just like, even though like in 5 they still play with him adjusting to that, but again 5 is kind of wonky.
Yeah. Kind of wonky.
Kind of wonky.
And then of course, beyond 6, I love his appearance in Next Generation and getting a glimpse of Spock all those years later, and especially the stuff that it has about like him and Sarek. Even though I don't think they actually have scenes together in that 2-parter, but Sarek is in it, and he has some stuff with Picard.
It's been too long, I don't remember.
Yeah, Sarek's kind of losing it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, like, and I'm just gonna go and say it because I'm thinking about it now. Like, I adore Leonard Nimoy so much for what he brought to Spock, and it always breaks my heart that we've lost a number of the original crew actors. But Leonard Nimoy is the one that really hurts that I'll never have the chance to meet.
Well, he's the sort of like, he is the character from the original series. More than yes, there's a lot to love with, and we haven't talked nearly enough about Uhura, who also does not have a whole lot to do in this film. It is what it is. He gets more to do in films after this, especially, which is probably why I like other ones later better. Sulu and Uhura both get more to do, but for what it is, I love this story. I lost track of what I was saying. Again, I just went and remedicated, y'all. Can you tell? My short-term memory is.
Well, I had been talking about Spock, so I don't know if it was.
Yeah.
He was the breakout standout.
Yes, he's the standout character in even in this film. Like, it's not his movie the same way some of the other ones have been, but he's still like the standout character in this movie. And even in Shatner's movie, which was about Kirk, one last hurrah, whatever. Like, it's still Spock's brother. It all goes through that character, and it kind of always has since the 60s.
Yeah.
And and some of that I think is because Spock is coded neurodivergent. Like, is he autistic? Maybe. Is he asexual? Maybe. Is he homosexual? Maybe. But like, the thing is, he has characteristics which make you feel like you can apply that label to him if it helps you feel represented, which is, by the way, great character writing. If your character can read that many different people, which is why Spock is the breakout star from the original series. So yeah, when he passed, I felt it the same way too.
It hurt.
One of the video games that I played the most is the Civilization series. And in Civilization 4, he did the voiceover for all the, like, whenever you would research a technology, they would have an applicable quote, and Leonard Nimoy was the narrator for those. Or maybe he did 5, and Sean Bean did 4. I don't know. One was Sean Bean, and then the other one was Leonard Nimoy.
Yes to both.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
oh no,
And
actually, I think Sean Bean does Civilization 6. Anyway, Leonard Nimoy, I've just heard him say all these quotes,
yeah.
over and over and over again. And yeah, I miss him too. He's my favorite character from the show. I think he's probably everybody's favorite character with very few exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's one of those actors who, yeah, for the most part, it was due to Spock, but he's always, been there as part of, my life experiences, like,
Mm-hmm.
a fan of like entertainment, because he was also something else that important to me when I was growing up. He was the voice of Galvatron in the Transformers animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, even though I didn't know this from when I was a kid, who can forget the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins?
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Fringe Nessie. Like,
Yeah.
it was
William
it was so amazing when he showed up in that.
It was the big reveal.
In that season 1 finale, and it was like, oh, he's that guy.
Yes. The huge reveal.
And then the fact that he like came back, like he was supposed to be done with acting, and he came back for like a final appearance as that character in that show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so like,
and
like in an age when it's hard to keep things a secret, like that particular moment was a shock to everybody watching, because like it felt like they were dancing around having to actually have the character in it. Like there were a lot of references to him in the way that you do when you can't get an actor. And especially because they had him voice the part in a really weird, bizarre animated episode. So it's like, okay, we're never going to get the character again, actually in person. So when he showed up again, and it was like his final role that he did, it was like, holy shit. Yeah. So, but that's the kind of impact like he had as an actor and as a representative of like, especially the science fiction genre. And like, there's never going to be anybody like Leonard Nimoy.
Well,
he was one of a kind.
Such a distinctive voice too. Like you can't. It's hard to do a Leonard Nimoy impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he has he's got a unique timbre to his voice, which is why him doing things like the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins or voiceovers for famous quotes in Civilization 4.
Yeah. He did the narration. Okay, now this is also going way back. He did narration for a television series that was important to my childhood, which was called In Search Of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all these, weird things, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, things like that, looking in aliens. Just, it was kind of like the, fringe theories or fringe crackpot idea kind of show. But it was pretty good because of the way it was presented. And it's kind of like, oh, it's pseudo fact based and this and that. It was just kind of like questions, just questioning things. Weird. I think one episode was like, whatever happened to DB Cooper or something, It was just a really, it was the voice.
It happened again. Gotta go back again. I can only handle it for so long. I really want to come back and make it to the end. I love you guys. You probably got to wrap up anyway. You know what? Peace, be excellent to each other, and live long and prosper. I'll see you guys next week for Mandalorian.
All right, bye.
Go. I am just bowing out this time. Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye.
I do have a couple of final thoughts, Nessie, before we say goodbye, because
all right, John.
Because I feel bad that we didn't mention one Uhura, but she doesn't have that much to do. So it's like I feel like it was easy for us to unfortunately sort of skip over her a bit because, she gets some lines and she's on the ship with Chekhov, but she still does, unfortunately, like the script doesn't really.
She doesn't get a lot to say.
Yeah. But the person that I really didn't want to forget to mention, and we should have talked about her more, is oh God, what's the actress's name? Who played Jillian? I'm gonna make sure I give her dues.
Catherine Hicks.
Yeah, Catherine Hicks. Which, so much of the movie is her, and she does such a great job playing off like the stuff in the car with, her and, Kirk and Spock, where she repeats Spock's lines right back to him because she has an encyclopedic memory. And, and then slamming on the braids. All right, how do you know that? And and then, at the dinner scene, well, I knew outer space was going to come into this sooner or later.
Like, yeah, she's just been waiting for the crackpot to come out. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're from space. I get it. Yeah. You got no money either, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no. And yeah, she's a great presence in this movie. And, and that's why I feel really guilty about the fact that we didn't discuss her more throughout the stream, because she's a big part of this movie. And but like, again, going back to the scene where Spock goes into the tank and is talking with the whales, and just, oh my God, first of all, yeah, Kirk's expressions, Mom and I used to crack up at that all the time. And then the old lady goes, maybe he's singing to that man. and then Julian turns around, what the hell?
Yeah.
And no, it's so great. And yeah, I loved her chemistry with both Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. I thought she was great.
Yeah. She wasn't really nice to her, I don't know, her companion, the other doctor, the other person there. But that guy was a jerk, though. Yeah, it's like, you didn't let me say goodbye to the whales, and smacks the crap out of him. I'm like,
well, it's like, yeah, but he lost all sympathy for me earlier when he, says that was, don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. The whales, probably won't make it because, we don't know for sure. We don't know for sure that their intelligence is even worth, caring about. And it's like, all right, dude, you gotta go.
Yeah. We know that you're, but that's like is that even like the worst character on this, on this movie? Because he's like everybody else is just so, I don't know, good. There's not really the enemy is like this unknowable,
well, the whalers are worse, I think.
Oh yeah, whalers, yeah. they are portrayed as definitely the worst.
Yeah. I just love the moment when the ship decloaks.
Yeah.
And they get the shock of their lives.
Yeah. And then
that's such a cool. It's such a cool moment, though. Because, like, just, we have kind of been waiting the whole movie for some cool ship action. And, it's not like they're not firing any weapons or anything. But
no. They didn't solve any of the problem of their confrontations or any of their problems in this movie with violence. It was completely non-violent. Kirk didn't even get to have a fist fight, It was...
Well, and I've always loved the fact that the harpoon gets stopped by the hull of the ship, and then it decloaks, and it's just like, and again, there's no music for that moment. Any other movie, especially in modern times, you'd have a big like orchestral, dun dun dun, it's something. But it's just played silent, and you just get the reaction of the whalers and the sound effects of them like turning the wheel and trying to get away. It's brilliantly done, and it reads as like a big action moment, even though it's not. There's nothing really actiony about it.
Yep. Yeah. Like if I had one complaint about any of the visual effects, like and this is just like, I mean, it's a minor nitpick. It's not even a big thing, but I think like when the warbird is taking off from Vulcan, you have that scene where Savick and Spock's mom are like looking on, and and the ship is departing, and it looks just a bit artificial, just a bit, but that's not a big pan about it, because it didn't take me out of the scene or out of the the movie at all, but it was just like, okay, this is a little something different, and it's just a bit out of
I'm actually trying to remember if one of the things about this movie was maybe if the studios wanted to cut costs even more.
I don't know. It was just a big scene where you're putting, the two people, but they're on an alien planet, and this is this is technology or whatever, and you just have the two actors against all of the artificialness of it, and it just stood out a bit.
Well, what I actually rather like is, speaking of when they're on Vulcan, I actually love that the wide shots of the bird of prey are clearly a matte painting. It just brings me back to, oh yeah, that's how they used to do that kind of stuff. So it's always funny when they cut from that wide shot then to the close up where you get a real ship, and then then it's a matte painting. But I don't know. I just love that kind of stuff, because I can tell it's not real, but it just takes me back to another age of visual effects.
Yeah, like I said, it didn't take me out of the scene at all. It didn't. But it was just noticeably different, I guess. It was noticeable to me, which is about all I can say, which isn't bad.
All right. So I guess we can about wrap it up. Any final thoughts about the movie?
It was a great popcorn movie. I enjoyed watching it this afternoon, and it took me back to 1986, 87.
I've already said most of what I feel about. I adore this movie. It's a childhood favorite, but what I really want to say about it in closing is just again to mention that, granted, my mom and I watched a lot of stuff together. She was my movie buddy, but this was one of those that we kept going. Like, there were a lot of repeat viewings of this one over the years. And this was one of those movies that I almost sat down and watched with her when she was getting really bad and she was having trouble remembering. I didn't end up doing that for this particular movie, and watching today, I'm actually kind of a little bit happy about that, because what I remembered as I was watching this was all the times that we watched it when I was little and the laughs we shared over it. And I feel like if I had that one final viewing, my memories would have shifted to that, and instead of the memories of the joy we had, when everything was better, but this is one of those movies that I sat down today and and like, sorry, I know this is getting quite a bit, you know, maybe a bit sad and emotional, but I felt, you know, I could feel her like sitting next to me, you know, and watching. It's just one of those movies that I think I'm always gonna, you know, connect it with her and feel her presence, you know, when I sit down and watch it. So, so I guess I just want to wrap up by saying I love you, Mom. And thanks for the memories.
Yeah, thanks, Webster.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's about it. I guess I will go ahead and say some things to wrap up since Steven's not here. Is thanks everybody for tuning in. Next week it'll be our wrap up stream for The Mandalorian season 3. I'll have some interesting things to say.
Yeah, you guys are gonna get spicy, John.
Probably not to the degree of what you guys got on the Zoom chat, for those of you who were there, but still, my opinions are my opinions, and yeah,
they are indeed your opinions.
Yeah. I will say I immensely enjoyed this past week's episode, and if the finale like stays at that level, then there will be plenty of positive stuff to talk about. Just you know, if Jared comes on the stream, that's going to be interesting because
oh yeah, we might actually have some fisticuffs on.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and please do come tune in over on my channel over on John Webster Film on this next Saturday at 7:00 because I'm doing my first stream in like a year, and it's gonna be about Star Trek Picard season 3, which I still have to catch up on most of the season, but I've definitely seen the first couple of episodes, and I'm just loving it. I know both you and Steven, had issues with season 1 and didn't enjoy season 2 at all, but season 3 really is a different animal altogether.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I am very much enjoying Star Trek Enterprise right now, so
okay.
I too am digging on the Star Trek. I too like the Star Trek. And I guess that's a wrap, John, unless you've got something else to say.
No, just thank you again, everybody. I had a lot of fun doing this one. And yeah, I hope you guys all have a great evening. And I'm excited for Ice and Fire Con coming up. Yeah. So I'm excited to see a bunch of you. And for those of you who aren't coming, there's still time to change your mind. So I encourage you to do so. But yeah, no. All right. Well, anyway, thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Nessie, and thank you, Steven. I hope you feel better, buddy.
Feel better soon, man.
Yeah. Anyway, you know where it is. Peace. That's right.
That's right. Peace.
And be excellent to each other. Bye, everybody.